everyone. My name is Jay Perkins, and I just wanted to thank you for joining us for Warhawkfootball.com and our first podcast of the 2014 season. The first couple of weeks of Warhawk action, which were recently completed down in Franklin, Indiana, with the Warhawks' 42-13 victory over the Franklin College Grizzlies. We'll also, a little later in the evening, be looking at Saturday's game against the College of New Jersey as the Warhawks left this morning. As I record this on Thursday evening, they left Thursday morning at approximately 9:45 in the morning. They were due to pull out after a 6 in the morning practice. They will be staying in Massachusetts this evening after making a long bus ride. They will then pull in for the rest of the trip tomorrow at the College of New Jersey in time to do a walkthrough on the College of New Jersey Stadium field, and then get some rest, get up Saturday, and ready to play their football game against the College of New Jersey. So this evening, we're going to do a couple of things. We'll talk about the format of the podcast. We will also talk to you about the start of the Warhawk football season, as well as a look ahead at this weekend's game. But before I get started with any of that, the first thing I really need to do is to give a great big thank you to Tom Pattison. Tom Pattison, if you're listening to this podcast, you undoubtedly know exactly who he is. He is the founder of Warhawkfootball.com. He was the voice of the Warhawks for many, many years. He has been an ardent supporter and promoter of Warhawk football, and there are so many of us in the Whitewater Warhawk family that just think so much of you, Tom, and I just wanted to, first of all, thank you for all you've done for all of us. You've brought so much enjoyment to so many Warhawk fans, and I know what you've done and your work has meant so much also to the players and the families of players who have played all those years for the Warhawks, and I just thought there's no really other way to start this podcast other than to say a big thank you. We love you, and we just ask you to take care of yourself and keep rooting for those Warhawks, and we look forward to seeing you at the home football games because you are such a huge part of Warhawk football. So everyone, it is again great to be here as I record this on Thursday evening with a look ahead to the Warhawks game against the College of New Jersey. The Warhawks have a couple of games under their belt this year. The Warhawks opened their season September 5th against Waldorf of Iowa, an NAIA school. The Warhawks won that one very handily, 73-7. And in that football game, the Warhawks were able to get their starters out of there very early. Matt Barrett, the quarterback for the Warhawks, was played only about a half of a quarter of football, and the Warhawks were able to get in backup quarterback Chris Nelson. And I know the coaching staff has been really hoping to get him some extended work. And in that first game at Perkins Stadium against Waldorf, Nelson was able to get the first extended playing time of his career, completing 10 of 15 passes for 153 yards and 4 touchdowns. And anyone who saw that game and paid attention to Nelson, he's got a great ball. He throws a very tight ball, very accurate. He looks like a good one. And I think the Warhawks are in good shape at backup quarterback this year. And in most seasons, as we go through a season, you have unknowns at different positions. One of those unknowns is the backup quarterback position because as in the preseason games leading up to the conference games, of course, the Warhawks are trying to get in sync and get ready for the regular season, and even in those games, the most of the playing time goes to the starter. So the Warhawks had a bit of an exception this year as they were able to score early and often against that Waldorf team, taking a 28-0 lead after one quarter, and then extending that to 49-0. And again, a quarter and a half of that was behind backup Chris Nelson. Other highlights of that game and statistics from that rather lopsided contest show that the Warhawks on the day had 450 yards of total offense, giving up only 177 to Waldorf. The Warhawks had 23 first downs to Waldorf's 9. Dennis Moore was the leading rusher, gaining 69 yards and 8 carries. Eric Wade added 64 and 8 carries. Nick Patterson had 49 yards on 6 carries. Quarterbacks really spread out the ball as well, as a number of Warhawks caught passes in that game. The leading receiver in terms of number of receptions was actually Ryan Stordo with 5 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown. Joe Worth, coming off an injury from last year, had a very successful return, catching 4 balls for 68 yards and a touchdown. Marcus Hudson, who's new to the two deep this year, had a couple of catches for 30 yards and 2 touchdowns. And so it was a lot of people gaining a lot of experience on that day, on the opening day. And when you have a 73-7 victory, one of the real benefits of that is getting a lot of people some playing time. And I know the coaches were very happy with how the backups performed as well. They said the offensive line, Coach Leipold after the game mentioned how the offensive line and the second team offensive line was especially impressive and very, very encouraging for the depth of this football team. And heading out of that game and into the Franklin game, everyone in the program knew it was going to be a stiffer challenge. Franklin is a playoff team year in and year out, and they are no stranger to the Warhawks, as we have played them 4 times over the past 4 years, and this was the 5th contest between the two teams. And during the first half, it was quite a battle, as Franklin took the opening kickoff and drove the field on a very, very unusual 16-play drive. And it was a 16-play, 75-yard drive, and it used up 10 and a half minutes. And it was really, really interesting watching that drive, because not only were they precise and really making some plays and executing well, but they also took their time on that drive. It was almost as if a basketball team was running a stall offense or something, because they took pretty much every snap almost using the entire play clock. And it was pretty obvious what their game plan was, which was to control the clock, to try to keep the Warhawks offense off of the field, and to make the most of their opportunities. And they certainly did in that opening drive, driving 75 yards in 16 plays over 10 and a half minutes to take a 6-0 lead in the Warhawks, and they had a missed snap on the extra point and were not able to convert, and so the lead stood at 6-0. Well, when the Warhawks got the ball back, they went right to work, and as the Warhawks took the ball back down the field and answered the opening Franklin score with an 89-yard drive of their own. It was an 8-play, 89-yard drive, and it was capped by a touchdown pass from Matt Barrett to Jake Kumaro, a 14-yard touchdown. The Warhawks converted the extra point to go ahead 7-6. The feeling was, okay, now things are back to normal, the defense will settle in, and before you know it, on the very next offensive play, Grant Welp, the quarterback for Franklin College, dumped a little pass over the middle to Dylan Jenny, who then rambled 75 yards as they split the Warhawks defense, and Dylan Jenny turned it into a 75-yard touchdown. This time the extra point was converted, and by the end of the first quarter, the Warhawks found themselves trailing 13-7. The Warhawks were the only team to score after that. The defense really got their legs under them and really shut the door on Franklin College. Franklin College did have one other pretty effective drive late in the second quarter, but it ended with a goal line stand as the Warhawks swarmed inside the 1-yard line, and then and the very next play, Barrett and Kumaro made sure the Warhawks weren't backed up for long as they completed a 44-yard pass from inside their own 1-yard line. And I thought that was just a statement play, because even though the Warhawks were ahead only 14-13 at the time, it was a play that showed real confidence. It showed confidence in Barrett and be able to make a good decision inside his own 1. It showed confidence in the offensive line, giving him the time and not executing or having a holding penalty that would cause a safety. So we showed confidence in the offensive line, and of course it showed confidence in Jake Kumaro making a play out along the right sideline, and that's exactly what he did in a 44-yard reception, and that got the Warhawks out of the hole. The Warhawks did not score on that drive, but Franklin didn't score the rest of the half either, and we went into halftime with the Warhawks leading 14-13, and the third quarter was all whitewater as the Warhawks took the third quarter kickoff, having deferred after winning the coin flip, and drove down a 9-play, 94-yard drive to begin the third quarter, and it was culminated by a 1-yard pass from Barron to Kumaro. And Jake is such a target in the red zone. He's 6'5". He has an excellent knack to be able to high point the ball. Matt Barron, the quarterback, has an excellent touch in the corner fade route, and it's very, very difficult to stop. And Jake was able to easily come down with that ball for the touchdown. The extra point by Bacher was good, and the Warhawks led 21-13. While the Warhawks defense went to work, shut down the Franklin Grizzly. Nick Patterson scored on a 3-yard run to go ahead 28-13. Ryan Givens later in the period scored on a 34-yard run. In the fourth quarter, Jake Kumaro with his second touchdown pass, his third of the game, his second fade route in that corner of the end zone that Barron throws in there so nicely, and Kumaro was able to make the catch. And the Warhawks in Franklin, Indiana last weekend, the 42-13 winner. The statistics from that game show that the Warhawks had 548 total yards to 302 for Franklin. As I mentioned, Franklin College had 150 yards their first 2 possessions, and only 152 yards in the 8 possessions they had after the initial 2. And the Warhawks had 26 first downs to Franklin College's 18. Individually, Nick Patterson was the leading rusher for the Warhawks with 12 carries for 141 yards and a touchdown. Dennis Moore had 7 carries for 86 yards, and Ryan Givens 7 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown. The 3 leading ball carriers for the Warhawks, all averaging over 10 yards per carry, and it goes without saying, when you have statistics like that, the offensive line did a phenomenal job of blocking, and that includes Derek Junikin, the tight end. The starters in the offensive line on Saturday were Derek Junikin, as I mentioned, was the tight end. Connor Peters started at left guard. Spencer Shire was the center. Eli Sloniker was the right guard. Tony Kepnick was the right tackle as well. And so the Warhawks, again, getting stellar play from their offensive line really paved the way for a successful offensive performance, and the Warhawks were really efficient for a game 2 of the season. Now, as we look at the position groups defensively, the defensive line just did what they do. They are so good at pounding on the offensive line, holding ground, playing physically the entire game, really bringing their pressure. And it's interesting watching the Warhawks play football, because in most games, the offensive line of a team tries to wear down the defense, and by the end of the game, you can see how those 2- and 3-yard runs sometimes become 6-, 7-, 8-yard runs and an occasional breakaway. With the Warhawk defense, invariably, it seems like by the fourth quarter, it's the defense wearing the offensive line out, and that's what happened again Saturday as the pressure in the fourth quarter became enormous. And Coach Borland is a big believer, and Coach Bullis is the defensive line coach, are both very big believers in rotating in numbers in that defensive line, keeping everyone fresh, and it really pays off come the fourth quarter, and it did again on Saturday. And as we continue to just apply that pressure Franklin became less and less efficient on the offensive end, and once Whitewater put up that 21-point third quarter, at that point it was clear the direction this game was going. So it was a very successful weekend down in Franklin, Indiana, and I think the coaches probably got pretty much exactly what they were looking for as they completed the second of 3 non-conference games. Now the next game for the Warhawks is against the College of New Jersey, as I mentioned, traveling out to New Jersey. It's the second long road. This one, an 892-mile trek east out in Ewing, New Jersey, as the Warhawks play the Lions at 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Saturday afternoon. Now, just a little bit about the Lions. The Lions play in the New Jersey Athletic Conference. A year ago, the Lions had a 5-5 record. They were 4-3 in conference action. The Lions last year did take on some teams that have been noted nationally. Cortland State is a frequent playoff team, and Cortland State was able to beat the Lions last year 20-7. Also Rowan, of course, a playoff team, beat the Lions 45-21 in the last regular season game before Rowan went into the playoffs. Montclair State, who has actually been a playoff team over the years, is what the Lions were able to beat Montclair State last year 21-16. In looking at graduation and how the team might be different this year, the College of New Jersey has 7 offensive starters returning and only 3 defensive starters returning, and so the pressure will really be on the defense to try to keep up that standard. Last year, the defense was considered the strength of the team as they held fort and kept the Lions in most of those football games. Offensively, they were challenged last year, averaging just over 14 points a game, and the Lions this year, to be honest, aren't off to a very good start offensively. They are averaging only 12 points a game. The Lions are in 73 rushing attempts this year, have averaged only 1.6 yards a carry. The quarterbacks have struggled. The passing game has not come together as of yet, as they've completed 32 of 75 passes with 3 interceptions and 1 touchdown. The Lions so far on the season are averaging only 198 yards per game, 196 yards actually per game, which of course is something they're going to look to improve on. But for the Warhawks, what they have to remember, and what I'm sure they will remember, is this game is not played on paper. It is played out there on the football field, and I have no doubt that the Warhawks are going to bring their best game they can on Saturday as they try to continue to improve, continue to take that next step, and ready themselves for the Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, which will start 2 weeks from Saturday against the University of Wisconsin lacrosse. And so the Warhawks stand a lot to gain this week as again they work on their execution, they work on becoming better themselves, focusing on the Lions this week, but at the same time just measuring up to their own standard. This isn't a game we can look at and expect to be the most difficult in the Warhawks schedule this year, but I think everyone associated with the program remembers just 2 years ago when the Warhawks were in a similar situation playing a team named Buffalo State University, and Buffalo State came into Perkins Stadium in Whitewater and upset the Warhawks, and that is something that I know is fresh in the minds of everyone within the program, and I have no doubt that the Warhawks are going to come out and take care of business on Saturday and look to continue to improve themselves and continue their approach of one game at a time. And so as we look ahead to the rest of the season, obviously the primary concern is health of the football team. Right now, it's a very healthy team. I know Nick Froland turned his ankle a little bit in the last game. I'm not sure if he's making the trip or if he isn't, but hopefully Nick will get better and be 100% soon. The Warhawks otherwise did not suffer any injuries that would threaten anybody to not play in Saturday's ball game. Hope would be that the Warhawks continue to stay healthy as they move forward throughout this 2014 season. As we wrap up the first 2014 Warhawkfootball.com podcast. Let's take a look at the rest of the WIAC action for this coming Saturday, and it is quite a schedule as each team faces a very significant challenge. The University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire goes down to Wheaton to play Wheaton College. The University of Wisconsin-River Falls will be playing South Dakota Mines. Stevens Point will be traveling to Iowa to play UW Platteville will be playing the team that eliminated them from the playoffs last year, the North Central Cardinals. And the University of Wisconsin Lacrosse, coming off a very difficult week last week, will now be hosting Mary Hardin Baylor University in what will be a hugely challenging game for the Eagles. The University of Wisconsin Oshkosh, who is off to a very disappointing 0-2 start this year, will be traveling to South Dakota State, stepping up in class, playing a very, very fine football team, and it'll be very interesting to see how the Titans fare out in South Dakota. And finally, UW Stout will be traveling to Iowa to play Wartburg College. Wartburg made some noise in the playoffs last year, if you'll remember, as they knocked off a very strong Illinois Wesleyan team, and they have started very strong this year as well. So Stout is traveling to Iowa to take on Wartburg. So that is what Saturday looks like. Once again, the Whitewater Warhawks will be playing at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 o'clock Central, at the College of New Jersey to face the Lions for their third and final non-conference game. And then the Warhawks will be taking a week off and will have 2 weeks to prepare for the WIAC opener at Perkins Stadium against the University of Wisconsin Lacrosse. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Warhawkfootball.com in our first podcast. We hope you will be coming and listening to each. We hope you'll be visiting the website to see the content as we try to provide some insight and some analysis of Warhawk football. It should be a great season ahead, and we look forward to taking the ride with you at Warhawkfootball.com.